Hello everyone, I am Duke and today we will be diving into the lore for the Trench Pilgrims. This faction is one of my favourite to play on the tabletop and their lore is some of the most fun for me to research. Over the next few weeks I'll be compiling many of my older videos into these larger deep dives, so please let me know what you'd like to see next. Without further ado, put on your Capirote, pick up your tank hammer and let's dive into the lore for the Pilgrims. Receiving revelations, holy visions and strange portents from the messengers of God, the faithful throughout the world are driven by divine will to take up arms in the name of the Lord. Manifesting stigmata, holy sisters are commanded by angels to arm themselves with sword and cross. Meanwhile, penitent sinners are compelled by their need for atonement to slay demons and heretics in the name of the Lord. Forming disorganized groups, these pilgrims arm themselves with whatever they can find, from simple clubs to antique muskets and improvised Molotov cocktails. While they are not officially connected to the church or its military, these pilgrim warbands march to war with its blessing all the same. The Trench Pilgrim processions are one of the most common sightings across the Levant, led at the banner of warprophets and driven forward by the lash of castigators. The men and women of a Trench Pilgrim procession are little more than poorly armed and untrained militia. However, with faith in the Lord and the blessings of the iron Capirotes they create to shield their minds from hell, they charge down demon and heretic alike. To see the pilgrims in war is to witness the relentless swarm of furious zealotry. While they may lack equipment and training, they more than make up for it with weight of numbers and fearless resolve. The storm of holy fury that the Trench Pilgrims unleash can overwhelm the strongest defences and most experienced of foes. Even death may not be enough to stem the advance of a zealot whose faith is strong enough. For a Trench Pilgrim killed in the Levant, their deeds may prove them worthy enough in the eyes of the 7th Metachrist. With the 7th Metachrist's blessing, they will be resurrected and return to war as a martyr penitent. The martyr penitents are a strange sight indeed. They are holy warriors who exist in a half-life between heaven and earth. Since they have been returned from death with divine blessing, they are incapable of feeling pain. To fight alongside one of these blessed warriors is to see them fight through horrific wounds. Very few things are able to kill a martyr penitent, and whether injured by bullet, blade, bayonet or bomb, they will often fight on to smite heretics in the name of God. The leadership of Trench Pilgrim warbands fall to the procession's warprophets. A warprophet is a holy warrior of great skill, strength of will, and faith near unmatched. These holy warriors are often charismatic and gifted preachers, their sermons and divine guidance drawing pilgrims to them in droves. A warprophet can lay healing hands on members of their warband and return them from the brink of death to fight on. In battle, some carry loudspeakers, preaching blessings and battle prayers. This display of holy resolve drives their companions onwards, inspiring them to race forward into the fray and tear their enemies apart. The only way to defeat a war prophet in battle is to overwhelm them, as these pious warriors are so blessed that the divine protects them from harm. A blow that would kill even the strongest demon or greatest war machine is shrugged off as the war prophet fights on. This does not mean though that the war prophet is safe from death, as even this divine protection can be overcome. Once overwhelmed enough, the protection may falter long enough for the war prophet to be dealt a mortal blow. Assisting the war prophets and acting as the orthodoxy officers for the warbands, the castigators are as feared by their warbands as they are the enemy. These terrifying officers are strong in mind and body, able to carry heavy weaponry to bring the wrath of the Lord to his foes. When the morale of the Trench Pilgrims is faltering and the warband is on the verge of breaking, the castigators are key to them fighting on. A castigator will make an example of a fellow pilgrim, and the others bearing witness will be reminded that the wrath of the castigator is to be feared far more than the weapons of the enemy. To protect the vital leadership of the procession, their warbands often include hulking communicants. Creations of the Holy Mentalist Order, the communicants are massive brutish bodyguards. The communicants are empowered by the divine by taking communion from one of the Metacrists in the Mentalist Order. The Metachrist program was even responsible for creating the Paladins, warriors of such faith and divine power they are able to march into hell itself. Though far less powerful, the communicants of the Trench Pilgrims share many similarities with the Paladins. These mighty warriors stand several feet taller than a normal mortal and are able to regenerate their bodies to render even serious injuries ineffective. Strong, tough, and capable of battling even the demons of the court, a communicant is a valuable asset to the Trench Pilgrim procession. Supporting these elites of the warband are the vast numbers of its humble pilgrims. These are pious men and women who have heard the call of God and taken up arms in the Levant. A Trench Pilgrim marches to war with the help of their iron Capirote, a device that shields their minds from the horrors of war and the terror induced by demons. While they are often poorly armed, they can overwhelm many an unsuspecting enemy. Their equipment may be simple, and it is often comprised of a bewildering array of weaponry from improvised Molotov cocktails to scavenge machine guns and even terrifying anti-tank hammers. The anti-tank hammer is a curious weapon, often little more than an explosive charge attached to a handle. Its simplicity does little to stifle its devastating effects. One blow from an anti-tank hammer is able to rip open even the strongest armour with ease, but they are wielded at the bearer's peril. To successfully hit an enemy with a tank hammer will most likely result in severe injuries to the pilgrim's enemy. However, the pilgrim themselves will be caught in the blast and suffer burns and concussive damage as a result. Another of the unusual weapons carried by the Trench Pilgrims are the enormous punt guns. These long-barreled rifles throw shot in all directions and blast apart their foes in a hail of lead propelled forward by the gun's incredible power. Punt guns erupt with so much force that the recoil often takes two people to resist it flinging them backwards by the blast. Some pilgrims possess the strength to carry the weapon alone, but these are rare in processions and likely highly valued as a result. At the vanguard of the Trench Pilgrim processions are the holy sisters known as stigmatic nuns. When the voices of angels and divine beings are heard across the faithful nations, sometimes those who hear them are the sisters of holy orders. These sisters are not blessed with the miraculous abilities, charisma, and holy protection of warprophets. No, these sisters are gifted the speed and agility to achieve near unmatched martial feats with a blade. It begins in one of the many chapels, churches, cathedrals, and convents of the faithful nation. Sisters begin to hear the divine guidance of angels. Once they receive the word of the angels, they begin to manifest constantly weeping wounds across their bodies. Offering reverence to the third Metachrist, far from the debilitating condition this stigmata appears, it empowers the sisters beyond their pilgrim brethren. A stigmatic nun may be clad in armour or protected only by their faith in the divine and righteous zeal. In truth, whether they are heavily armoured or not, it matters little to the holy sister. The divine wounds of the third Metachrist are mirrored on the stigmatic nun's body, allowing them to draw strength from pain. This is not exactly the holy healing abilities that most would associate with those of a communicant. Instead, the stigmatic nun is able to draw divine power from their pain and manifest it into quite literal miracles on the battlefield. The more a sister of the stigmatic nuns fights on, the more she is wounded, the more dangerous she becomes. Where others would be impaired by the wounds that the sisters rejoice in, they draw on a divine fury to guide their blades and pistol fire. A stigmatic nun is a highly skilled killer at both ranged and melee combat, but they shun the long-range firepower of anything other than pistols of either single shot or automatic variety. Some nuns have even been known to carry the shuriken-like war crosses into battle. The sisters favour close quarters fighting and are some of the most skilled mortals you can witness in melee. Most sisters are truly athletic warriors, able to race ahead of their warband with a miraculous grace far exceeding almost all other combatants on the field. While the nuns may be the agile sword masters of the procession they serve, they are not the only pilgrims you will see at the vanguard. Although they may, however, be the only ones who chose to be there. Driven forward ahead of the faithful are hordes of their ecclesiastic prisoners. Manacled and chained, the ecclesiastic prisoners rush forward in the hopes of detonating their martyrdom device. They do this in the belief that this will absolve their sin-tarnished souls with the deaths of their enemies. Charging at the enemy with an almost reckless abandon and no regard for their own lives, these penitent sinners have nothing left save a mind racked with desperate resolve and a need for atonement. The ecclesiastic prisoners are the penitent sinners of the warband. These may be pilgrims who have chosen to carry the bombs or the martyrdom devices into battle to seek atonement, or heretics condemned to do so as a punishment. While all of this may make the Trench Pilgrims seem, at least outwardly, to be barbaric zealots with no tactical acumen and little intellect, the truth is quite different. It was the saints and the monks of the pilgrims who are responsible for some of the faithful's most vital technological advancements. For example, in 1503 the warprophet Angelos was guided by Saint Eligius to discover the formula for orichalcum steel. This alloy combines the strength of steel with divine blessings. Lighter, more malleable, and far more durable than normal steel, it is costly to produce. But the benefits far outweigh the costs. A suit of armour crafted from orichalcum steel can defy a torrent of gunfire and even turn away strikes from demonic weapons. But while orichalcum steel is certainly a powerful boon to the faithful, there is perhaps one creation of the pilgrims that is equally as famous. Standing between 12 and 15 feet tall, the Shrine Anchorites are a potent weapon of war available to the pilgrims. These nigh-indestructible war machines have helped them push back Hell's forces throughout the war. Almost completely immune to damage from conventional weapons fire, the Shrine Anchorite acts as a war altar, rally point, and siege engine for their procession. Any pilgrim who sees a Shrine Anchorite at war is instantly inspired by its presence. Powered by a diesel engine of ancient design, the Anchorite marches to war belching great gouts of blackened smog. Any heretic who sees such a sight knows that this great behemoth heralds the righteous smite of the Lord. The outer shell of an Anchorite is often festooned with trumpets and loudhailers, and they constantly fill the air with prayers and sermons to the Lord, the monk within them proselytizing sermons and prayers as they pilot their engine to war. But there was a time that the Shrine Anchorites were thought forever lost to the pilgrims, and the oldest engines are revered relics in their procession. First created in the hallowed halls of the fortress monastery of Velerad, located in Greater Moravia, they are the creations of Saint Methodius. Hundreds of these mighty war machines were crafted at the monastery before its ultimate destruction by death commandos. Sent forth by the demon lord Marcosius, the death commandos destroyed the monastery at Velerad. The process for creating Anchorites seemed doomed to be forgotten in the aftermath. As a result, the techno laboratories of New Antioch, at the command of the princes of the church, began designing the first suits of heavy machine armour. Unbeknown to all, though, as the death commandos ransacked the monastery, killing all they encountered, one monk escaped. Hastily gathering all he could to protect his craft and fleeing into the night, Brother Achakios survived the attack. Eventually he arrived at the slopes of Mount Athos, and it was here he founded a new monastery. Before long, other monks had found their way to the site. Taking up residence, they studied under Brother Achakios. With his followers and students growing in number, Brother Achakios became the first warprophet in the war pilgrimage of St. Methodius. These artisan monks crafted variation after variation on the original designs of the Anchorites. Now in some Trench Pilgrim warbands, these massive machines forego their breaking wheel for devastating armaments. These great weapons range from massive gas sensors to heavy flamethrowers, autocannons, and even the experimental anti-material rifles. Ultimately, whatever warriors and war machines that a Trench Pilgrim procession is comprised of, they are certainly a vital asset to the faithful warprophet. While the forces mentioned in this video describes the lore for the vast majority of Trench Pilgrim units, there are many different variations on their warbands. Take for example the war pilgrimage of St. Methodius. These go to war heavily armed, well equipped and backed by multiple Anchorites. Whereas the procession of Sacred Affliction throw themselves into combat with reckless abandon to tear apart their enemies with anti-tank hammers before drowning them in the mud of the battlefield. Broadly speaking, these two processions follow the teachings of the Metacrists, whereas the Cavalcade of the 10th Plague see the Metacrists and their communicants as aberrations. For those of you interested in a deep dive on these variant warbands, don't worry, I'll be releasing lore compilations for these variant warbands soon. In the meantime, which factions would you like to see next on a deep dive? Let me know in the comments below. To find out more about the world of Trench Crusade, click the links on screen to continue your journey down the rabbit hole. For discounts on your hobby supplies, check out my affiliate links below, and please like, subscribe, share a favourite video with a friend, or become a channel member. With that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all soon.